Welcome to Innovation Essentials Module 8, where we're going to be looking at designing business models. Now, just a quick recap on Module 7 before we get started. Remember, we were looking at how to sell your idea and influence people through the process of developing your idea, because the reality is, particularly if you're dealing with a bold idea, your idea is more than just a product or a service. It is a change in the way that we're going to do business. And that potentially threatens to disrupt more than just product inside your organization. It's going to affect potentially the whole business ecosystem under some circumstances. So you need to start thinking about yourself not just as an idea originator, but as a campaign manager, a manager of change, a leader of change, really. And we talked about some of the tools that are at your disposal to do that, one of which was creating a campaign map, understanding the key milestones along the way, the people that you're going to need to influence, and also then what are the experiences that you're going to need to create for those people in order for them to fully understand your idea and to be able to give you the feedback and hopefully the support that it demands. We talked about the business case that you need to share when you're selling your idea, and so often I get feedback from executives saying when they hear about ideas for the first time, there's just the rigor behind the business case is rarely there. So why this, why now, why us? And some 10 key questions that your pitch really needs to try and cover. We talked in some detail about that. We also talked about the real importance of not just telling people about your idea, but giving them as an authentic experience as possible about what that thing really is, so they can inhabit it and then give you helpful and useful feedback. And then finally, we talked about the 4 stories that you're going to need to tell along the journey. This 5-second story, 30-second pitch, 5-minute pitch, and then your 20-minute pitch, which could be your TED Talk. Again, all serve a different purpose, all are really important, and we talked about what each one of those is and how to develop it. And of course, there were some resources in the book that you can follow along. So today, we're at the stage where your idea is getting to the point where you really need to start thinking seriously about what's beyond the idea. How will this thing actually show up in market and scale and make money and be viable? Just as a reminder, we are, at least for the process that we're looking at on this course, we're at this final stage here where you're starting to try and understand this idea of solution market fit. We found something that customers like. Now can we find a way to make it a viable business that we can hopefully make an important revenue stream in the future? I'm going to look at 3 things really today: why business models matter, how then to design and test business models, and then a series of videos that are going to be separate to this, which is looking at the 5 key types of business model that it's really good to understand a bit more about, so that you can play with some of the dynamics and potentially bring them into your own business models. So if you've got the book, you don't need it especially, but if you have got it, chapter 32 is the one to read along from, called Your Great Idea Isn't Enough. So why do I say that your great idea isn't enough? Well, in many settings that I find myself in, the main focus of innovation is often on the product or the solution and its design, and that's good, we need that. But if you look at the success of any product, really, a fundamental part of its success comes down to its business model. And that tends to be a combination of 3 things. It's about the effectiveness and the efficiency of how we create value as an organization. It's how we develop our products and services. It's about how we distribute value. So how do we take our products and services to market and with whom? And it's about how we exchange value with customers and other stakeholders. And that might be with money, but as we'll see a little bit later, money is only one form of value that we should be looking to extract from a business model. Now, during my research for Be Less Zombie, I interviewed a really interesting guy called Rafael Orta, who is a former eBay executive and is now the chief product officer at moneysupermarket.com. And here's what he told me. He said 9 times out of 10, innovation at scale is about a better business model, not a better app. And, I think he's right. Of course, we need great products and services, but they only form one part of a successful overall business model. And as you start to develop your product or service, it's really important to start thinking about potential business models right from the start. And the reality is that your business model will need to become a continuous source of innovation. And why is that? Because competition in the marketplace occurs as much at the business model level as it does at a product level. And as market dynamics continuously shift, you're going to need to be continually asking questions about the desirability, the feasibility, and the viability of your business model. In fact, every organization should continually be asking itself the question, to what extent is our business model as relevant and effective today as it was yesterday? And what dynamics can we see on the horizon that will potentially impact the effectiveness of our business model? But this isn't just for new products and services. The truth is that business models for every product and service are under attack, regardless of whether they're new or not. And here's an image from the book that we use to illustrate this. I mean, this is, of course it's dramatized, but actually if you think about every dimension of your business, and how it succeeds today, things are changing all the time. And the extent to which we track those changes and move and are agile with them, it has a big impact on how relevant we are to the market. Now, you may remember, if you've done module 1 of this course, we met a guy called Andy Billings from EA Games, and he says this: if you don't burn down your business model every year, a competitor will supply the match. So hopefully you're getting the idea that great innovation is as much about business model innovation as it is about the design and development of new products and services. And whether every year you have to change your whole business model, maybe not. If you're in a very fast moving industry, maybe that's true, but there will be a cadence and a frequency of change of certain dynamics in your industry that you really need to understand and get hold of. So what tools are available to us as innovators to start to look at the issue of business model innovation? Well, one of my favorites is called the Business Model Canvas, which was developed by a guy called Alex Osterwalder, and here he is, where he features in the book Be Less Zombie, and he's surfing on his canvas here and destroying zombies that are trying to pull down organizations. But this canvas that he's developed has become one of the most important tools in business model design. And it breaks down into 9 main areas. And I'm going to quickly just talk through these, and then we're going to move on to look at some specifics within business models. So, first box we've got here is customer segments. So who is the customer that you're trying to serve? The customer that you've identified that your product or service is going to help. What's the value proposition? What value, what progress in life are you helping that particular customer make? What's the interplay between these two? And in the middle, what's the relationship that needs to be in place in order for this value proposition to adequately serve the customer? Does that need to be a very high touch relationship? Could it be automated, or is it something in between? And then next, channels. How are we going to actually deliver that value to the customer? What's that going to take? And then down here, we've got the revenue streams. Where's the money in all of this that makes this whole thing flow? How do we exchange value between customers and ourselves so that there is revenue flowing, but also other forms of value? More and more we're looking at data as a source of value that can then be sold on to third parties. And we'll look at that when we discuss other business models a little bit later. So this often gets called, the front of house side of the business model. And then behind the scenes, we've got the key activities. If we're going to be able to deliver this value proposition to these customers in these ways, what do we absolutely need to be awesome at in order to do that? And what resources are we going to need to have above and beyond everything else? What partnerships will be necessary in order for us to do this? It's unlikely we're going to be able to do everything on our own. So who would the strategic partners need to be? And what's the cost structure going to be? And the way that this tends to work is you print one of these out. It's freely available from Strategyzer online. You can download that and print it out. Generally, the bigger the better. And you have a bunch of post-it notes, and you move. I tend to start with customer segments and then move to value propositions, or you can do it the other way around, but start in one of those two, and then you can kind of move wherever you like. But the idea is that you have a conversation as a team, ideally a cross-functional team, about what are the key dynamics in each of these boxes, and 3 or 4 post-it notes maximum in each box, and you end up with a business model canvas that gives you an instant snapshot of what would need to be true in order for this to succeed, or at least a starting hypothesis about what a business model would be that then you can go away and test. So this model really is about how do we minimize costs on this side of the organization or of the business model, and at the same time maximize revenues or the value that we're trying to get from it. So I really recommend this. It's freely available from strategizer.com. What they've also done at Strategizer is actually produced a set of really great videos. And in fact, they're so good, I don't think there's any point in me going any further talking about the business model canvas and its multiple uses and how you can go deep with it, because I would rather you went and watch these videos, which do a fantastic job of doing that. So I've created a little shortcut here, i.e. business model, use that as the bit.ly code, and that will take you to this, the Strategizer YouTube channel page for this particular series. So definitely do that. That'll take you a lot deeper into using the business model canvas. I guess the last thing I want to say about business model innovation in this very brief introduction is that it's likely that if you're going to create maximum possible value from your products and services, that you're going to need to consider not just one, but multiple business models. And if you Google different types of business model, you'll come up with dozens. Now, in reality, they're just a combination of 5 different models. And what I've done is produced a short video of how each of these 5 work. So there's the freemium business model, which is giving something away for free, and then there's an upsell involved. The subscription model, a licensing model, pay-per-use, and advertising. I mean, there are others, but these are the 5 key models that you will see out there being used to some extent or another. Often it's a mix and match of bits and pieces of all of them. Now, you'll notice that these videos, when you watch them, don't look exactly the same as all of the other videos that I've produced for this Innovation Essentials series. And that's because, for context, I'm producing this in the middle of the COVID-19 crisis, and I want to get these free resources out to people as soon as possible. So I've actually asked one of my clients, which is a non-governmental organization called CABI, if I can share these videos with you. And thankfully, I'm very grateful that they've said yes to that request. So these videos will have a slightly different look and feel, but they'll help you understand and work with these 5 different business model types. So thank you to CABI. Definitely look them up online. They do amazing work helping farmers in the developing world fight diseases and the pests that attack crops. And they are a hugely important player in the world food supply chain. So have a look at Strategizer for their videos and their resources. Check out these videos that I produced with CABI around the 5 business model types. And that actually brings us to the end of the Innovation Essentials course. There's just one more thing really that I'd like to say, and that is, please do share this course with as many people as possible. My aim with this course is to help as many organizations as possible to put the tools into practice for free and to increase their overall innovation performance. So I hope this course has been helpful. If you have found any part of it helpful, please do share it and keep in touch. Connect on LinkedIn. Consider buying the book to support your learning, or maybe some people have contacted me and said, you know what, this book has been really helpful for me to give to my manager. We get this stuff. It's him or her that needs some help, and the book has been a useful resource in that respect. So have a think about that as well. I'm going to be producing many more online resources. That's part of my own business model shift. So keep an eye out for those in the future. And thank you for your time in taking part in this Innovation Essentials course. And I wish you all the best with your own innovation moving forward. Thanks again.